Hey guys, MJ here, and this is how to reverse inflation. But first, I want to show you something. Let's go ahead and put this on the screen. You see that? Congratulations, everyone! You can all relax now because the war on inflation is over. That's according to Paul Krugman, an economist from your favorite unbiased news source, the New York Times. And he says, we won at very little cost. Okay, but the gaslighting gets worse because when January inflation numbers came out, it said the cost of everyday items went up 50% higher than expected. This obviously makes the sitting president look really bad, especially in an election year. But fear not, because the media immediately came screaming to his rescue with headlines like this from the Financial Times. Reuters wrote, Yellen sees progress in inflation. NBC said, prices cooled, just not as much as hoped for. So rather than telling the objective black and white truth, that inflation actually got worse, they found a way to do their usual media spin to make things sound not as bad. I know, shocking, right? But as one San Jose resident said, everything seems to be getting more expensive and it's getting harder to pay for what we need. But what if I told you there was a way to sort of reverse inflation, or at least flip it on its head, so you can at least take advantage of this bad situation we're in? I'm going to show you how, and it's a little sweet loophole you can do with an IRA account. Really. But all right, I know it sounds like I'm going to get into some boring stuff. Just stick with me. So you know how the IRS loves their rules? Well, they've all got these rules about what you can and you can't put in your retirement accounts, right? And that's because those accounts were meant for long-term savings, not for collecting fancy stuff. Like most retirement accounts, you're pretty limited. Like how Fidelity has pre-selected funds, or maybe you can invest in sectors. I mean, it's all pretty standard stuff. But you know what you cannot have in a retirement account? Weird stuff, like collectibles, antiques, artwork, stamps, coins, or booze. Anything fun. And if it's that kind of fun, the IRS says you're not allowed to have it in your retirement account. Now, I know what you're thinking. MJ, is there a reason you're talking about this? Please get to the point. And yeah, there is a reason. Because with all these rules in place, there's naturally going to be a loophole buried in there. And this is the very loophole we're going to use to sort of take advantage of this inflation situation that we're in. Because if there's any way to, reverse inflation, then this is as close as we're going to get. All right, kids, so pay attention because this is interesting. So as you know, regular retirement accounts, you're pretty limited in your investments, right? Right. But there's a unique kind of retirement account that you can have, and it's just specialized IRA account that just about anyone can open, and it's called an SDIRA, or Self-Directed IRA. But what it does is it lets you legally own unique investments, things you might not expect. You can own real estate, tax lien certificates, private equity, and actually, you can own precious metals too. Gold and silver and all that. But I'm not talking about paper gold like gold ETFs or mining stocks or whatever. I'm talking about real, hold in your hand, freaking heavy, physical gold like this. All right, look, it's a gold coin. Now, how about that? But it's not just gold. You can even have others like silver, platinum, palladium. I mean, we're talking the real stuff, which is cool because, you know what? Let's do this because I think this will convince you on why you should want to get some precious metals like yesterday. So I don't know if you remember what happened around 2007 or not, but this thing happened where the entire housing market collapsed, the stock market crashed, the United States economy was in ruins, scandal swept the nation, nobody trusted the banks, and it was absolute chaos. So if that rings a bell, then what you may not know is the demand for gold spiked. meaning it shot up, way up, and it continued to shoot up until that in 2011, gold more than doubled in value. Doubled. Now, an ounce of gold went from $1,100 in 2007 to $2,500 in 2011, okay? And the stock market, looking at the S&P 500 here, which is what usually people mean when they say the stock market, well, in the same time frame, went from $1,479 to $1,185. You heard that right. It went down about 20%. So that's a pretty handy reason to own physical gold, right? Here's another one real quick, because if you remember the super high inflation of the 70s and how bad things were, then you might not be shocked to hear the price of gold shot from 35 bucks an ounce in 71 to, what was it, a high of 850 bucks an ounce in 1980. That's, hold on. That's 2,328% increase in the price of gold, while the stock market literally dropped 50%. So let's compare apples to apples. 100 grand in the stock market back then, you'd be lucky to have 50K after the dust settles. But let's say you had 20 grand of that in gold. I did the math for this one already, but that 20 grand would be worth $485,000. Crazy. And I know you're curious, so I'll just tell you. 100 grand would have become 2.4 million. Now, I'm no rocket surgeon, but with hindsight and all that, hey, you'd have been smart to have a good bit of gold. I mean, obviously, right? So yeah, gold's a good idea. And maybe it's a good idea to get some now, especially since 2024 bears striking similarities to the 70s inflation patterns, and how today's market conditions rhymes with 2008, according to one of the top suits at JP Morgan. But can you just own any kind of precious metals in an IRA? Like I said, the warlords at the IRS have their rules. But to make things easier, you can get IRA-eligible precious metals from legit dealers, especially 5-star rated dealers who've got a direct connection to the mints themselves, like Goldco. Click the link in the description, but yeah, they've got to be IRA-eligible precious metal investments, and they've got to be stored with an IRS-approved trustee, custodian, or depository, meaning there's actual vaults in places like Delaware, where if you have an IRA with physical gold, this is the place that will hold onto your gold. Because, of course, the IRS isn't going to trust you to hold it yourself. And honestly, it ain't worth the hassle. But back to the point. For it to be IRA eligible, it's got to be pure, super pure. Gold bars or rounds got to be at least 99.5% pure. Silver bars and rounds need to be 99.9% pure. Platinum's got to be 99.95% pure. You get the idea. And that's why things like Krugerrand gold coins from South Africa or those old 90% junk silver coins from the US Mint don't meet those same high purity levels. So the IRS says, no soup for you, because those coins are not pure enough to be allowed in your IRA. You with me? All right, so I think we've made my point, except, well, two things. One, if you're curious about owning precious metals in an IRA and you want all of the details bundled up for you and you want it in a free kit sent to your front door, talking a real FedEx package, then you could always click the link in the description below. But the second thing you got to consider, because we talked about what happened to the stock market during the 70s style inflation and the housing market crash, but we didn't talk about what happens to your retirement savings during a time of war. And if you're paying attention, it's possible we're staring at the face of World War III. So if you want a way to defend your money, then you'll want to see this video right here. So click on that, and I'll see you in the next video.